Hello. Please join me in Gassho as we listen to the words of Shinran Shonin, found in the postscript of his major work, The True Teaching Practice and Realization of the Pure Land Way. How joyous I am, my heart and mind being rooted in the Buddha ground of the universal vow, and my thoughts and feelings flowing within the Dharma ocean, which is beyond comprehension. Namo Amida Butsu, Namandam, Namandats, Namandam, Namandats, Namandats. When people from Japan began migrating to Hawaii and the United States during the late 19th century in search of work and a better life, they brought along more than their dreams and willingness to endure the vagaries of a strange land. Included in their baggage of cultural norms was a worldview that led them from the inevitable loneliness and frustration, which are an immigrant's fate, back to a world of religious embrace, a world both spiritual and social in nature, capable of giving reassurance and empowerment to the dispossessed. Most of the Japanese workers at that time were Buddhists, and the tradition they encountered in the New World was Jodo Shinshu. Today we have gathered together to observe the joint celebration of three very auspicious events. The Buddhist Churches of America 125th anniversary celebration of its founding on September 1st, 1899, the 850th anniversary of Shinran Shonin's birth, and the 800th anniversary of the establishment of Jodo Shinshu. Shinran Shonin was born on May 21st, 1173, and passed away on January 16th, 1263. He was the founder of the Jodo Shinshu tradition of Buddhism, and we celebrate the 850th anniversary of his birth. In 1224, Shinran Shonin composed his magnum opus, a collection of passages revealing the true teaching, practice, and realization of the Pure Land Way, when he was 52 and living in the Kanto area of Japan. Throughout his life and writings, Shinran Shonin taught the true essence of the Pure Land Way, Jodo Shinshu. His masterwork sets out a path of genuine significance, which manifests the primal vow of Amida Buddha, the purport of which is to carry beings who entrust without doubt in the vow to birth in the Pure Land. Today we reflect upon the significance of the 125-year history of the BCA. As we do, we come to understand that the working of the primal vow of Amida Buddha manifests in this life. It is active and working. It functions and operates within history. The vow manifests in the teachings of Shinran Shonin and the Pure Land Masters, the religious lives, hearts, and minds of Nembutsu followers everywhere, the spiritual awakening that is Shinjin, an awakening to the reality of the actual historical working of the vow, and in the temples, sanghas, and institutions that have carried on the true essence of the Pure Land Way. In the late 19th century, the majority of Japanese people who migrated to America were from areas that were Jodo Shinshu strongholds. Thus, it's not surprising that most of the first Issei in America were Shin Buddhists. Hawaii first received Japanese laborers in 1868. The influx of Japanese nationals to the mainland began in the 1870s and increased steadily thereafter. Almost all were single young men whose lives consisted of backbreaking work and a few hours of relaxation with friends. One of them, Mr. Nisaburo Hirano, knew that someone was needed to minister to their spiritual needs. As a result of his efforts, the abbot of the Hompo Honganji sent two priests Reverends Enryu Honda and Kakuryo Nishijima to America in 1898. They met some 30 young men and helped to establish the Bukkyo Seinenkai, the Young Men's Buddhist Association. Soon thereafter, 83 members of the YMBA sent a petition to the Honganji requesting the establishment of a Buddhist center for missionary work in the U.S. The words of their heartfelt request remain vibrant and alive today. In the 8 directions are non-Buddhist forces surrounding the Japanese Buddhists, and we cannot be at ease. It is as if we were sitting on the point of a pin. No matter how we move, we will be pricked. Our burning desire to hear the teachings is about to explode from every pore of our body. Thereupon, the Humpa Honganji dispatched 2 missionaries, Dr. Shue Sonoda and Reverend Kakuryo Nishijima, to the U.S. They arrived in San Francisco on September 1st, 1899, and soon established a Honganji branch office there. This marked the official start of the Hokubei Bukkyodan, North American Buddhist Mission, which was to evolve into the Buddhist churches of America. Reverend Sonoda and Nishijima also established other YMBA and Fujinkai branches in Sacramento, Fresno, and Vacaville. Soon new temples were built at a rapid rate in areas of greatest Japanese concentration, including the Bay Area, Los Angeles, Fresno, Seattle, and Central California. By the early 1900s, the NABM headquarters office was formally set up in San Francisco. The new Jodo Shinshu movement in America faced challenges, including the rise of virulent anti-Asian agitation on the West Coast, a series of anti-Asian laws that were part of its result, the forced removal of persons of Japanese ancestry from the West Coast in 1942 and their confinement in camps during the war, the formation of the Buddhist Churches of America in July 1944, and the dramatic changes that it brought about within the organization. The anxiety and insecurity brought about by resettlement, the rapid increase and subsequent decline in BCA membership in the following 8 decades, an aging membership and shortage of ministers, changes to demographics, perspectives, and expectations among members. These and other factors have all served to shape the BCA and religious lives of American Shin Buddhists. Needless to say, BCA has faced all of these challenges and has persevered. This forms a remarkable historical narrative filled with individual and communal stories of faith and courage, the audacity of hope, and lives of profound gratitude. Today we are also commemorating the 850th anniversary of Shinran Shoni's birth and the 800th anniversary of the establishment of the Jodo Shinshu teaching. I would like to focus on one portion of Shinran Shoni's life as it relates to the postscript of his true teaching, practice, and realization. In the second month of 1207, when Shinran Shoni was 35 years old, the Jogen religious persecution took place. At the urging of the powerful Buddhist establishment, the imperial government banned Honen Shonin's teaching of the exclusive practice of the Nembutsu and his Pure Land school. 4 monks were executed, and Honen and 6 of his disciples were sent into exile. Shinran was one of them. He was sent to the province of Echigo in the northern frontier, now Niigata Prefecture, and given a layperson's name, Fuji Yoshizane. He was sent to live a life of hardship in an isolated country among unschooled hunters, fishers, and peasants. Exiled, defrocked, separated from his teacher Honen and his compatriots. The Pure Land movement crushed. He was all alone in a far-off region of Echigo. I have an image of Shinran Shonin in my mind. I imagine Shinran standing before the crashing waves and howling wind on the shores of the Sea of Japan. Perhaps the very ground upon which he stood was shaking, giving way beneath him. His entire life, his entire being was threatened with utter destruction. I can only imagine what was in his heart and mind. Perhaps despair, perhaps resolve. Perhaps thoughts and feelings not unlike those of the young Issei, strangers in a strange land, giving voice to their deepest spiritual needs and concerns. And at the height of his despair, in the midst of the most dire of circumstances, Shinran Shonin was able to hear a call, the calling voice of the Buddha of immeasurable light and life, the primal vow of Amida Buddha, voicing itself to him as Namo Amida Butsu. How joyous I am, my heart and mind being rooted in the Buddha ground of the universal vow, and my thoughts and feelings flowing within the Dharma ocean, which is beyond comprehension. Shinran Shonin was able to awaken to and stand upon the unshakable Buddha ground of the universal vow and experience his thoughts and feelings soaring and flowing within the inconceivable Dharma ocean. This was Shinran Shonin's awakening, the arising of Shinjin in his life, heart, and mind. This was his encounter with the working of the primal vow in his life, within history. Shinran Shonin expounds the active power and working of Amida Buddha's primal vow with brilliant eloquence in his writings. I would like to share with you my own understanding, my own appreciation of the primal vow. It goes like this. It is the basic wish of life itself, wherein life wishes to become its true self and then give itself to others freely so that they might live. When the Honganji responded to the young Issei in America at the end of the 19th century, I can only imagine that gratitude and joy exploded in their hearts, just as it had in Shinran Shonin's heart nearly 7 centuries before. They experienced the working of the primal vow. That basic wish of life called to them. It reached out to them, young immigrants from Japan, strangers in a strange land, who were faced with mountains of challenges and hardships, and brought them back to a world of spiritual embrace. This is the working of the universal vow of the Buddha of immeasurable light and life, manifesting within history. It was alive within Shinran Shonin's life, heart, and mind. It is alive within his teachings. It is alive within the Honganji and the BCA and its temples, alive within the lives and hearts and minds of Myonyo Shonin, Reverend Sonoda and Nishijima, and all of the Kaikyoshi that have followed them, alive within the lives, hearts, and minds of Nembutsu followers in realms throughout time, across cultures, and beyond language. It is a living heart, beating with significance, truth, and vitality. Those young Issei pioneers and the new Jodo Shinshu movement in America took on many challenges and overcame those hardships with faith, hard work, and a deep sense of hope for the future. Their devotion and that of their children, grandchildren, and many others have opened up a world of spiritual embrace in America for over 125 years. As we reflect upon the 125-year history of the BCA, we cannot help but have a deep sense of gratitude for the people and events that have allowed it to thrive as a living Sangha. And we are also recipients of the vow's working, and we find that we are able to move forward with courage, hope, and joy. We know that we are still faced with many challenges today. On a global scale, the world is not at peace. Conflicts and cultural wars abound in nations, cities, and even homes. Poverty, discrimination, and inequality remain realities in our world. And yet the winds of change blow everywhere. Old structures crumble under the weight of time. New ideas and technologies offer the promise of a better future, but sometimes at the cost of our shared and treasured heritage. The BCA is not immune from problems. Our membership is shrinking. It is also growing older. In today's financial climate, the fundraising efforts of many of our temples are based on practices that were adopted decades ago. Our temples are respected participants in their respective civic communities, but at times they may seem too self-secure. Ours is a tradition of Buddhism established in Japan. BCA was founded and built by persons of Japanese ancestry. It still values many aspects of Japanese tradition, thought, and culture. And while we are welcoming in many new members from a diverse range of races, ethnicities, gender identities, religious backgrounds, and social circumstances, yet we must ask ourselves whether our temples can really move beyond their Japanese character. The world is filled with many unsettling and troubling things. Life is filled with uncertainty. It is fragile, fleeting, and filled with challenges. That much is undeniably true. But it is how we respond to such uncertainty and problems that will define our lives. It will determine who we are. Our lives are not predetermined by the gods, fate, or karma. The conditions of our lives bring us face to face with challenges and then enable us to respond to them in our own way. As we hear the Nembutsu and receive the Buddha's basic wish of life, we realize that we have choices to make in life, and the choices we make will define who we are. We can run away from hardships or responsibility. We can live in denial or be paralyzed by fear, or we can face the challenges of life head on. As we awaken to the working of the primal vow in our lives and in the world, we will be able to face all of the scary things of life, and despite or even because of them, choose to live with awareness, appreciation, and authenticity. The primal vow of Amida Buddha is life's deepest and most profound wish, the wish that we all might live our true lives. The Buddha Dharma gives us the encouragement to live with courage and joy, and provides us with guidance in making those choices. How joyous I am, my heart and mind being rooted in the Buddha ground of the universal vow, my thoughts and feelings flowing within the Dharma ocean, which is beyond comprehension. The working of the primal vow flowed through the life, heart, and mind of Shinran Chonin. I imagine him shouting out those words in ancient Japan as he stood before a roaring sea, his life in exile filled with uncertainty and the very ground shaking beneath his feet. Facing his fears, he chose life. He was able to live his true life, for he was standing firmly on the Buddha ground of the universal vow. I am convinced that Jodo Shinshu Buddhists will face these and other new challenges in the same way, directly and positively. After all, we are true disciples of the Buddha and followers of the Nembutsu. With our history as a foundation and the teachings as our guide, we can ensure that BCA and our temples will be able to continue to operate as manifestations of the primal vow. We can support our ministers as they strive to impart the true essence of the Pure Land Way with all members, young and old, all people throughout the world. We will allow our young leaders the chance to develop new ways to keep our temples financially sustainable. We will welcome into our doors people from all walks of life, all ethnic and religious backgrounds, all lifestyles, and all points of view. We will continue to be active members in the greater community, extending our hands to those who are in need of help and support, especially those victimized by violence and discrimination, and those banished to the margins of society. On the path of Jodo Shinshu, we will continue to focus on the Dharma, knowing that the Buddha's primal vow of wisdom and compassion can offer our world a possibility of real peace and freedom at long last. Please join me once again in Gassho. How joyous I am, my heart and mind being rooted in the Buddha ground of the universal vow, my thoughts and feelings flowing within the Dharma ocean, which is beyond comprehension. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Amanda Namant, Namanda. Thank you very much. Please take care. I wish you all the best.